because the US State Department is spending millions of dollars on pride events around the globe.
And get this, he admitted that he made up the whole social distancing thing. I shit you not, he fucking admitted that they made it up. He doesn't know, it just appeared. It just appeared. I'm Stephanie Keith.
And I am Tara Manjakovich, and we are unapologetically outspoken. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. Well, Stephanie, here we are again. It's the start of another Pride Month, and I'm honestly not even sure why we still need a dedicated month to celebrate LGBTQIA XYZ Pride, since isn't this basically the everyday agenda that's being pushed by the Biden admin and their DEI program? But we're just going to be inundated with all this shit being shoved in our faces extra hard for the rest of the month. And once again, the pride flag is flying center stage at the White House in between two American flags. And I'm just waiting to see who is going to be this year's star gender confused White House pride social media influencer, because you know it's coming, right? And I would ask you if you have ideas on this, but since our TikTok account was banned earlier this week, maybe you haven't been able to see any stories.
Oh my gosh. So yeah. Well, first of all, June is my birthday month, but the birthday month for all the women in my family. We all have June birthdays. So it really pisses me off that it's all about pride when really it should be all about me and my family. Just kidding. But yeah, so we were banned on TikTok, without notice. It was the craziest thing. But as of last night, we are back for now. But yeah, they updated their community guidelines on May 17th. And when they did that, a bunch of our videos from months ago, I mean, there were even videos from last year that were all of a sudden taken down that weren't even bad. And so I went through the appeals process. I appealed those videos and they all went through and they put the videos back up. So I thought, okay, well, we're all good. Well, I posted a video sharing the $54 million that Trump raised in the 24 hours following his guilty verdict, which, by the way, that number is over 200 million now, because some mega wealthy woman donated $100 million and people are supporting him. So I posted that, and then I made that point, just like I did on the podcast, that no riots ensued, no small businesses were burned to the ground. We just raised money. This is how adults should react to, outcomes they don't like. And everything was peaceful, and it just, the post was not anything bad. I've posted way worse things in the past, and this post got thousands of views within an hour. And there were all these people coming together and agreeing, and the comments were all red hearts and American flags, and the energy was amazing. And there were even a lot of comments that people were saying they used to hate the MAGA crowd, but now they're following all these MAGA accounts and realizing that the real criminals are the DOJ. But there was this one troll that's been stalking our account. And I went to their profile. It was a photo of a dog, a private account, 0 likes. I don't even think they had any posts, which tells me it was either a bot, AI, or a moderator getting paid by the left. Probably a moderator. They left 11 comments. And when one of the comments called my content, quote, douchey, that's when I was like, okay, I don't think AI would use that word. So it's probably a moderator. And I had to respond. So I made one of those video replies where you could tag them in it. And I just made them look like an idiot. I couldn't help myself, but I was very calm and collected. And I just pointed out that if they think my content is douchey, then why are they watching and commenting on every video I post? And then I thanked them for leaving 11 comments, which really boosted us in the algorithm, because now this post has freaking taken off. And from that post, there were a lot of people that were like, well, fuck them, we're following you now because of that. So they only helped make our account grow. Well, anyhow, later in that day, I opened TikTok and a quick message pops up and it says that our account is banned, and there was zero explanation as to why. So I put an appeal in, and late last night it came through. I mean, they didn't say anything. It was just all of a sudden our account was back. So we're back, but I have to say, like, I don't know for how long, because since this May 17th guidelines update, most of the people we follow, they've been getting the same warnings. They've been getting video after video taken down. Um, then another thing we've noticed is like the TikTok Creator Fund, they try to say that like all of our videos are disqualified. But then when I appeal it, all of a sudden they go through and we can make money off of it. So they're like trying to demonetize uh people on the right, basically. So anyhow, like it was a wake up call. I already completely filter myself. I mean, I talk in code. I change the captions. If I say anything even remotely like bad, I always cite my sources. And so it's just blatant censorship at this point, and it's only affecting pro-Trump accounts. Um, so is it a surprise? No. Is it a surprise that they're doing this right before the biggest election ever? No. But does it piss me off? Absolutely. Like we worked so hard on this account. We're at like 34,000 followers now, and
Nice.
they can just take it away in an instant. And I know people are going to roll their eyes at this, but hear me out. Like TikTok, that is my source of news. And you might think like, "Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous." No, because I follow all of the Congress people, right and left. I follow all of the media outlets that I like, right and left, to get various viewpoints and to get video clips. Like I get so many clips where I get to see the congressional hearings taking place, where I get to hear it right from the horse's mouth instead of from the nightly news. And I can't go on Facebook or Instagram because they have banned all political talk. I mean, outright. They've absolutely admitted to that. So when this happened, it was the first time I think I really saw like, okay, our freedoms are being ripped away. And I put that in the appeal. I put this as a blatant attack on my First Amendment right, and it's blatant censorship of a political party. And then like I go on my personal account or like my other business account, and this message pops up from TikTok, and it says, quote, "Community guidelines update. We updated our community guidelines to keep TikTok safe, inclusive, and welcoming for everyone." No, you didn't. What you did was you made it safe and inclusive and welcoming for people on the left, for people of a extreme, not even just the left, like progressive ideology. And everyone else is censored and banned. Meanwhile, the other side can say whatever they want and relentlessly harass and attack people, which happened to me this week. That is the opposite of inclusive. That is censoring half of the population and only allowing one particular ideology to speak. So that is the opposite of welcoming and inclusive. So I could rant on this all day. It was a big deal. I think everyone should be looking at this and just understanding what's happening, because I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happens in a communist country. And I want to point out another thing, and I've been trying to tell people that we follow and we kind of made friends with on TikTok, that all of these crazy people in the comments, we need to go and just block them, because I literally had threats from these thugs that were tagging each other in the video and saying, "Let's go get her." And like, so I had to block those people. And I just thought, you know what? Those accounts were up. They weren't banned. They weren't flagged. They're threatening my life, and I get banned. But yet
Mhm.
they can run wild and do whatever they want. You have pedophiles out there that have their account up. They're not banned, but God forbid someone spreads a patriotic message or supports Trump. Like that is what we're dealing with right now. So, anyhow, I know I went on a rant, but to answer your question, Tara, I haven't seen much on Pride Month because by the time our account was back, I was exhausted. The one thing I did see coming through, I saw numerous clips on it, was of these men walking in a pride parade with FBI shirts on. And a lot of people were really upset by that. Personally, like I could care less. I don't care. If you want to participate in the parade, cool. I really don't care. What upsets me is when it's everywhere to the point that it becomes our nation's identity. Just like you said, putting the pride flag before the American flag. Like that is messed up. Like, I don't care if you want to support that, do your thing. That's cool. But also respect that not everyone in this country is part of the LGBTQ community. And we don't need every single aspect of our lives filled with its propaganda. That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to your TikTok thing for a second because like when you told me, I could tell how upset you were. And
I
like
was like
this is
crying and I never cry. I never cry. I was so upset. It's so
well,
silly.
it's like so frustrating because it's literally showing us how they're trying to destroy free speech. And like we're not even super successful media personalities. We're just like the normal common people. And clearly, TikTok has caped the agenda. And I just don't understand how you have like legitimately harmful content that doesn't get censored, but our account gets censored over and over, and then it gets banned. And after you told me about it yesterday, I tried to log on and I was denied. And what's so like stupid is okay, if anyone who doesn't follow our TikTok, 99% of the content is Stephanie. Like I've probably done maybe 10 videos in the last year. And every time I do one, I have to contact Stephanie and say, can you check my video and make sure I didn't say something that's going to get us censored or banned? Because like I just speak and she knows all the special ways to like get things on there without getting banned, or at least used to not get us banned. But like I'm so clueless that I'm like, please check and just get rid of whatever words I said that I can't say on TikTok. But it's like we're just talking about commenting on things you can find in mainstream news. Like we're not talking about even our conspiracy shit like doesn't get banned, but we talk about something patriotic that's in the mainstream news and we get banned. Like that is literally totalitarian censorship. That is the shit that happens under communist rule, not democracy. And I really think it's only going to get worse as we get closer to the election. Like think back to when COVID started and all these people who were outspoken had their accounts deleted or banned for misinformation and disinformation. And now it's finally happened to us. And ironically, Trump just joined TikTok over the weekend. And I just want to point out that by Monday morning, his account had 3.7 million followers, which has to be even more by now.
It's
And
over 4 million now. Woohoo!
nice. And in contrast, Biden HQ, who's now been on there for a couple months, has less than 346,000 followers. So I'm curious, is Trump going to get banned for posting stuff that we get banned for posting about him? Like, it's just absolutely ludicrous. And at this point, I'm surprised that podcasts are still a free speech platform. Like, I'm
Well,
honestly surprised.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was so grateful for this podcast because I'm like, at least we still have this because that would have ruined like everything. But like for now, I mean, who knows? They tried banning Rogan at one point and luckily he had Spotify to back him up. But it's funny that you say that about Trump because I just put the pieces together. The post that we got banned over was literally a screenshot as a green screen of his post where he was showing how much money he raised. And last night when I went on his thing, he had one post put up and that wasn't one of them. So he had that post taken down. So like, and it's crazy because part of me thinks, okay, well, this is TikTok that got scared shitless that their whole business is going to be like overthrown by the American government. Or what I've been hearing over and over and over again, but I couldn't personally verify with any like hard evidence, is everyone on TikTok that we follow, they said that that May 17th guideline, part of what that is instead of like AI moderating and like censoring, they're bringing in real people and they're saying that just like Twitter did, they're giving a backdoor access to the American government. Now, I couldn't verify that anywhere. That's why I haven't brought it up. But after seeing this and seeing how they let everything else slide, but they go after the one account or the one post I did that was like blatantly pro Trump, makes
Yeah.
me think, yeah, that would be our American government for sure. So while I don't have evidence to support that, I mean, They did it with Twitter. Why would they not do it with TikTok? That's how they operate, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I know. So it's like there's not going to be any free speech platforms left as we get closer to the election, if you even want to call this free speech at this point. But I want to get back to Pride Month because this shit has like taken over everything. I even saw that the National Weather Service put out a post about how the skills and perspectives of the diversity of National Weather Service employees allows them to meet their mission of protecting the nation. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't know the weather really cared about people's gender. And Stephanie, have you ever played Call of Duty?
No,
Okay,
I hate
me
games like
neither.
that.
Yes, so do I. But my ex-husband used to play this shit for like hours on end, and so did a lot of my cop friends. And I'm not into video games, but this particular game was like a really big thing with all the macho guys I used to work with. Well, in the spirit of Pride Month, Call of Duty has now added uh, LGBTQIXYZABCD weapon skins to their guns that the players can use to decorate their guns. I was reading this in the Daily Caller. Guns can now be like the traditional pride theme, bisexual, lesbian, non-binary, pansexual, transgender, or asexual themes. And there's also like transgender bullets in the game that have the transgender pride flag on them. Like, nothing is sacred anymore. This shit is fucking everywhere. And so Biden gives this speech on Friday about how, his administration is recommitting themselves to do more to support LGBTQI plus rights at home and around the world. And he's quite literally following through on the around the world part because the US State Department is spending millions of dollars on pride events around the globe. And shockingly, including here in the Czech Republic, in the fucking city where I live, which totally blew my mind that America is paying for all these foreign Pride Month events. So, according to a spokesperson from the State Department, their theme for 2024 is, quote, pride and protection, human rights for LGBTQI plus persons around the world, end quote. And this theme is supposed to be a stark reminder not only of the constant danger faced by LGBTQI plus persons for living their lives authentically, but also for the importance of the State Department's continued efforts internationally. And I'm not shitting you. You can go on usaspending.gov and the information is all there in various grant summaries. So I wanted to see what the one was for the Czech Republic. And the grant summary states, quote, the purpose of this grant is to organize Pride Week 2024, including several activities aimed to promote awareness of the life of the LGBTQ plus community in the Czech Republic in the South Moravian region, end quote. So then I see there's this article in the Daily Caller. Are tax dollars in the US, what they're being used for these Czech Republic events, is for reading queer children's literature to young kids, a picnic for queer youth, and an LGBTQ affirming worship service performed by a female priest at the Czechoslovak Hussite Church. And federal records show that American taxpayers are also paying for an event called Sophia Pride, which is a huge event that will be happening in Bulgaria on June 22nd. We've given thousands to an LGBTQ NGO called Distive. I think that's Distive, I don't know. They're holding a film festival in Bulgaria to promote inclusion and acceptance of the LGBTQI plus community, which, by the way, this article also points out that in 2022, we funded a similar festival in Portugal that included films depicting incest and pedophilia. And our tax dollars are going to be paying for an LGBTQI plus community conference in Australia that will be taking place June 13th through 15th. And the topics that they are going to cover apparently include transcultural wars and strategies to win the battle for public and legislative opinion for transgender and non-binary rights, the changing landscape of queer India, and queering menopause. Like, what the fuck? And
What
the
does that
article,
even mean? I mean, how
I
ridiculous.
I'm not really sure. And the article points out that the Biden admin has already spent hundreds of thousands of US tax dollars to support queer Muslim writers in India, ballroom dancing to uplift transgender youth in Peru, LGBTQ refugees in Latin America, and theatrical productions to teach Africans about LGBTQ rights. Now, I want to make it clear that I am in no way bashing the legitimate LGBTQ community. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. I have friends and family members in this community throughout my entire fucking life, including now. I've done a lot to support their rights, but I do not support the agenda of gender confusion and how this is clearly being targeted at children, which we have talked about repeatedly. And this agenda is one the administration is not even trying to hide, because in his speech on Friday, Biden said, quote, to the entire LGBTQI plus community, and especially transgender children. Please know that your president and my entire administration have your back, end quote. And not to go off on a tangent here, but I don't even know what to call this totally corrupted movement at this point, because the acronym literally changes on a daily basis and depending on what source I look at. Is it LGBTQI plus, LGBTQIA plus, LGBTQ, LGBTQQIP2SAA, 2SLGBTQI. I'm
Wait, are those
literally,
like legitimate?
yes, I'm not making this up. Those are all online. These acronyms all
God.
exist, just like the 200 fucking different made up genders. And it's absurd and confusing. And I will not patronize this shit. And I don't know about you, Stephanie, but when our country is spending trillions of dollars, we are trillions of dollars in debt, and the American people are struggling to buy gas and groceries, and we're spending billions on foreign wars that we shouldn't even be involved in. Shit like funding pride events in other countries is just like the cherry on top of the cake of absurdity that is slapping Americans in the face.
Well, yeah, and what's absurd is like, okay, we're always talking about DEI with the Biden administration, stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
if you have any viewpoint that doesn't align with their progressive viewpoint, you're shunned, you're censored,
Yeah.
you're banned. So that is not
Mhm.
inclusive. That is not diverse. Diversity is about diversity of thought, perspectives, backgrounds. Yet, if you're a gay person or a trans person for that matter, if you're Asian or black or white and you vote for Trump, they attack you. I mean,
Yeah.
they literally like attack your life. They try to get you banned on social media. They try to ruin your life. Like it's so ironic because it's like this is supposed to be the party of tolerance and inclusion, and it's not. And that was all of those people, not all those people, there were like a handful of people that were, harassing me on TikTok. And all of our uh followers were commenting that. They were like, oh, nice to see someone here from the party of tolerance and inclusion that can't
Yeah.
tolerate any opinion outside of their own. So sorry, I just had to throw that in there because it really makes me mad. And it's absolutely slapping American taxpayers in the face. Like, instead of helping Americans, we're putting taxpayer dollars toward pride parades in other countries. It's bad enough we're funding other countries' war, but no,
Mhm.
we're also funding their pride parades. Like, how ridiculous. It's just like it's the icing on the cake for the Biden administration. It really is. And at the end of the day, I actually think that this really hurts the gay community because people that were accepting before are just sick of this shit and not as supportive anymore because the gay community has been hijacked by radicals. And I will go as far to say pedophiles. I mean, you were talking about those like queer books for kids. Well, I have one of those books because my grandma bought it. She's like, you need to look at this because if this is in your kid's school, get it out. It was teaching kids how to give blowjobs. I shit you not. A picture book with colors and everything. Like it is, they're pedophiles and radicals have hijacked the party and they're trying to normalize this shit. And so that hurts the gay community. And every gay person I know, they're not for this at all. They don't want anything to do with the community. So it's crazy. And as I said before, they've taken over every aspect of American life, from politics to schools to corporate America, and the entire population has to adapt so that less than 1% of the population feels more comfortable. Like it's a joke, and it's a sign of the fall of the American empire. And I don't know if you've heard this theory, Tara. I heard it on Joe Rogan, but they said that every major empire did the same things right before their collapse. So you have like the Roman Empire, the Egyptian Empire, and what they did was like absurd spending and getting their country into incredible debt. And then the other thing was collapsing of values in society and hoisting up things like homosexuality and trans, which I didn't even know was a thing back then, but apparently it was. And so America's like falling right in line with what every collapsed empire did right before their collapse. You destroy religion, you take away values, you get people to believe absolute falsehoods, you spend all their money, and then what are you left with? Nothing.
Yeah, I
Collapse.
had a coworker who told me this theory a few years ago, and like everything you just said is like spot on. This is legitimately how great nations fall, and it has happened throughout history, time and again, without fail. And maybe it's our time. Maybe the United States is next. And if that's the case, like I am going to go down speaking the truth to the end, right?
That's
Which
right.
brings me to this awesome article I read yesterday in Breitbart, Stephanie. There is a bar in Eagle, Ohio called the Old State Saloon, and they've decided that instead of celebrating LGBTQ Pride Month, they're going to celebrate heterosexual awesomeness month for June. And they have an entire month of like festivities and drink specials. And according to the article, Mondays in June are going to be hetero male Mondays, and any male dressed like a heterosexual male is going to be rewarded with free beer. They put out a Facebook post seeking a professional judge to determine if like men's chosen clothing is officially heterosexual. And they're going to offer $15 an hour plus free beer as compensation for anyone who thinks they have what it takes to, quote, determine straight threads, end quote. On Wednesday nights, it's going to be like couples nights, and every heterosexual couple will receive 15% off their bill. Thursdays are ladies' nights, and they're called Her Hetero Happy Hour, where straight women receive happy hour prices all day. And so, of course, there were a ton of comments criticizing them as being bigots and marginalizing hate. And I love that they did not back down. And in fact, they doubled down on the idea, and I want to read their response. They said, quote, "We love our LGBTQ plus patrons. We will not be changing our mind and giving into the group of those who responded with vitriol. All are welcome to come celebrate heterosexuality with us in June. We love our Black patrons too. We love our white patrons. We love our patrons who work for the USPS. But we aren't doing special nights for these people. Nor are we doing special nights for LGBTQ. We are choosing to celebrate heterosexuals. We should be able to do that without so many people being so nasty to us, lying about us, canceling us, attacking our business, and or trying to make something about themselves. If you want us to change who we are celebrating, get over it. It's not happening. Hooray for heterosexuals, end quote. Like, Stephanie, I fucking love this. And if I was in the States right now, I would quite literally drive to Idaho to patronize this bar.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And see, that's the thing is there is so much hate and vitriol that comes from the left when you do anything. I mean, if you're patriotic, if you're waving an American flag, it offends them. If you're celebrating, the fact that you are heterosexual, that offends them. It's so funny because it really is, they're not tolerant of anything that is
Mm-mm.
not like far, far radical left. And, my daughter, my 14-year-old, brought up a really good point. And she's like, Mom, how come veterans only get one day out of the entire year, but the LGBTQ community gets an entire month? I'm like, I don't know, but that's a good point. I think our veterans should get a whole month, like I'm sorry, but I think that's great that they're standing up, they're not caving. And they're not hating. That's the thing. Like that was a perfect response because they're not hating on the LGBTQ community. They are celebrating heterosexuals. I think it's great.
Exactly. All right, we're going to move on real quick from this trans LGBTQ agenda because there's some other fun news. And in case you guys need any more evidence of the Biden admin's corruption, on Monday, the DOJ said that it can't release audio recordings of special counsel Hur's investigation into Biden's classified documents case. Why? For fear of AI and deep fake manipulation. So the filing specifically reads, quote, the passage of time and advancements in audio, artificial intelligence, and deepfake technology only amplify concerns about malicious manipulation of audio files. If the audio recording is released here, it is easy to foresee that it could be improperly altered and that the altered file could be passed off as an authentic recording and widely distributed, end quote. So, Associate Deputy Attorney General at the DOJ, Bradley Weinsheimer, he claimed that releasing the audio wouldn't really do anything to advance the public's understanding of the case or Hur's activities because there's already info available in public records. And if they release the interview through a FOIA request, it would be unprecedented and exceedingly harmful because Biden is an uncharged individual. I can hardly say that without laughing. And then on Tuesday, House Republicans started a hearing where they're trying to hold Merrick Garland in contempt for refusing to turn over the audio tapes. And they're saying that the DOJ has been weaponized against Trump, which it clearly has. So in his opening comments, Garland said, no, this is all a conspiracy theory and it's an attack on the judicial process. And he will not be intimidated because the DOJ does their job free from political influence and they are not going to back down from defending democracy. Like, what a fucking joke, Stephanie. Can the hypocrisy get any more real here?
Oh, I know. I know. Even the left media has said, like, why don't you just release the tapes? If there's nothing bad, just release them. Like,
Yeah.
plain and simple. But yeah, no, they took a records case and turned it into 34 felonies for Trump. But Biden hides federal documents from the American people that they have every right to see. And it's no big deal. No big deal. Nothing to look at here, folks. And also, he can keep classified documents that he was never authorized to have, and that's okay. But of course, Trump's going to court over it. So that's our DOJ right there, Garland. He's a criminal. That guy is a criminal.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, so lots of things happening this week. Another interesting thing that happened is Fauci had to sit in front of the House Select Subcommittee and answer questions on the pandemic response. And get this, he admitted during this, we have video of this, that he made up the whole social distancing thing. I shit you not. He fucking admitted that they made it up. He doesn't know. It just appeared. It just appeared. And I would love to play that particular clip. That got lost with the whole TikTok thing. But Republicans did release the transcript. So I'm going to read a couple bits from the transcript of the hearing. So the question from the Republican was, do you recall when discussions regarding kind of the at least a 6-foot threshold began? And Fauci said, the 6 foot in school? And the Republican says 6 foot overall. I mean, 6 foot was applied at businesses, so on. And Fauci says, yeah. And then again, like the Republican says, it was applied in schools, it was applied here. At least how the messaging was applied was that 6 foot distancing was the distance that needed to be. And then Fauci jumps in and he says, I don't recall. It just sort of appeared. I don't recall like a discussion of whether
I
it should
made
be
it up.
5 or 6 or whatever. It was just that 6 foot. And so then the Republicans like, did you see any studies that supported 6 feet? And Fauci says, I was not aware of studies. This is like, it's insane. And so he goes, do you recall reviewing any studies or data supporting masking for children? And Fauci says, I might have, Mitch, but I don't recall specifically that I did. I might have. And so then like later on, he's like, have you followed any of those studies where he was explaining like that there was learning loss and speech development issues that were associated with young children wearing masks while they were growing up? And he asked, like, have you followed any of those? And Fauci's like, no, I still think that's up in the air. Like, you can't make this shit up. And then he was asked if the theory that COVID came from a lab leak is a conspiracy. And he admits that no, it is a possibility. So he's asked, just you sitting here today, do you think the possibility or the hypothesis that the coronavirus emerged from a laboratory accident is a conspiracy theory? And Fauci says, well, it's a possibility. I think people have made conspiracy aspects from it. And I think you have to separate the two when you keep an open mind that it could be a lab leak or it could be a natural occurrence. It's like he is
How is he not
admitting,
in prison?
yes, yes, he's ruined how many lives. And he's now just admitting, like, yeah, everything we censored you all over, everything we said was misinformation actually could be true. Like, it is
And
unreal.
he's not even trying to make excuses for it either. He's just like straight up saying no, or I think so, maybe.
Yeah,
Like there's zero remorse there.
exactly. So I did find a couple clips. This one, it's a little bit lengthy, but I want you to hear the next line of questioning after like this little transcript I just read.
Recognize Dr. Joyce from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman Winstrup, for convening this important hearing, and thank you, Dr. Fauci, for testifying. Dr. Fauci, one of the controversial regulations of the pandemic was the 6-foot distancing rule. This rule became an important policy consideration in subsequent regulations. However, you testified recently, and I'm quoting, this 6-foot rule sort of just appeared. Do you think that a rule that sort of just appeared is substantial justification for the regulations that we saw based on that 6-foot rule?
Congressman, thank you for that question. I answered that, but I'll summarize it briefly for you. When saying it just appeared, it came from the CDC.
Okay, you stated that earlier. What was your relationship with the CDC when you saw a regulation which was not based in the current science?
Well, when I say was not based in science, I meant a prospective clinical trial to determine whether 6 foot was better than 3, was better than 10.
But once we realized that the virus was not spread by droplets and was aerosolized, did you feel an indication to go back to the CDC and said, let's base this on science. Let's get rid of this 6-foot rule. This 6-foot rule crippled businesses. It allowed students to stay at home and not learn. Americans suffered. And that suffering continues because the fracture of trust in American scientists continues to this day. Did you not feel an obligation for something that just sort of appeared, not to go back to the CDC and say, let's base this on what we know?
It was a CDC decision, and it was clear.
Were you dialoguing with the CDC?
Excuse me?
Were you in communication with the CDC?
CDC was part of the coronavirus response team.
And you didn't feel an obligation to go to them and say, look, Americans aren't going to trust us.
Yeah.
We're providing them with misinformation.
We have discussions at the White House about that. We did, but the CDC's decision and was their decision to make, and they made it.
And you.
This asshole just admitted, oh, yeah, the White House, we did have discussions about putting misinformation out there. But it was the CDC. It was the CDC. It was their fault. I didn't do anything. He knew social distancing didn't do a damn thing, admits it was misinformation, and then let us all be censored for misinformation. And still to this day, Tara, if we go on social media and post about COVID, we get slapped with a misinformation violation. The post gets taken down. And if you do it enough times, you get banned. It's so aggravating, like unbelievable. And that's not all from the hearing. So according to a Daily Mail article, quote, the coronavirus committee had dedicated months to discovering the origins of the virus that upended so many lives and resulted in the deaths of 6 million people globally. Recently, they have discovered that Fauci's former top aide, Dr. David Morenz, routinely conducted work on his personal email account, sounds a lot like Hillary, and deleted files to avoid government transparency laws under the Freedom of Information Act. His disregard for FOIA requests was so blatant that he bragged in emails to colleagues that he learned how to make official correspondence disappear and that he would delete things he didn't want to see in the New York Times. Emails from Morenz uncovered by the committee further revealed that he boasted about having a secret back channel to Fauci where he could clandestinely communicate with the former NIAID director. So here is a clip that was recorded between this guy Morenz and Fauci. Listen to this. It's real short.
I don't hear anything at all.
Oh, man. Okay, I guess it's not playing through the mic. But basically, him and Fauci are saying, well, Fauci specifically says in this conversation, it's a recorded conversation, that we have to basically ruin people's lives and make it so bad that they have to get the vaccination. Meaning, like, we have to keep them from getting a job, from working, threaten to fire them, and force the entire world into getting the vaccination. And they're like, he's like joking about it like some evil character in a Disney movie or something, like, ha ha ha, we're going to make it so bad for them that they're going to have to get it. It's crazy. And they played this in the hearing, and he's just sitting there like an idiot with like a smirk on his face. Like, yeah, what are you going to do about it, basically? Because he knows nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. Nothing is going to fucking happen to him.
Yep. And so it's like all this shit is coming out at the same time that, like, it's becoming so obvious that Trump is being politically persecuted that even the left has to admit it at this point. They can't hide how bad the country is fucked up anymore. Like, they're trying. That's why TikTok's banning people after promising they wouldn't. It's why Meta is publicly admitting to hiding political information. And as we've said before, as you just said, nothing comes from these hearings. They're never going to arrest Fauci or Biden or Pelosi. But I believe with all my heart that they have awakened the people. More and more people have realized the truth. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. Like, we know there's not going to be accountability, but if people are waking up and they're going to take action with their vote, that's what matters. And that pro-Trump post I did had 134,000 views since I last checked. We got a ton of followers and amazing comments from people saying that they are sharing our stuff and they want to support everyone speaking out. The energy was incredible. So in the mess of all of this, in the mess of Trump's guilty verdict, all this like truth coming out, I feel like everyone finally is uniting as Americans versus the corrupt system. And I even had some of my like lefty friends saying how they love to see that like the systems of power are finally collapsing. Like, they're finally getting it. Like, if we don't like this system that's been prejudiced and all this stuff all these years, and that same system is attacking Trump, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So like, people are finally getting that. Not everyone, but a lot of people are getting that. And no matter what TikTok or Meta does, it really doesn't matter because they have awakened and energized the people, and we're going to vote Trump in. We're going to continue speaking up, and we're going to continue standing up for what's right. No one's going to bring us down. And like, for everyone out there, know that like when there are bumps in the road that happen, like getting banned on TikTok, we are still winning. Good will prevail. I really, really believe that. And I think that very soon we're going to be able to close this ugly chapter of American history and start a fresh new chapter of abundance, freedom, and the pursuit of fucking happiness.
Stephanie, I love when you get fired up with positivity, and I hope you are correct.
Oh, I am so fired up. And yeah, I hope everyone's fired up, but I hope like use this energy for good. Like, speak up. I'm going to say it every episode. Speak up, share the podcast. Like, let's keep awakening people. We need it now more than ever. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you back here on when, Tara? Friday, right? Not Wednesday. Friday. We'll see you back here Friday. Thanks for tuning in. If you're sick of all the crazy shit going on in our country and you want to express your support and patriotism for the show, head on over to our Etsy store at UO Patriot Chicks and check out our new stickers. The link can also be found on our website. If you love the show and you want exclusive episodes, support the podcast and join the conversation by becoming a member of our Patreon community. We'll be posting weekly member-only podcast episodes and content that isn't available on the weekly podcast. Every Patreon member will also get a free Unapologetically Outspoken sticker and updates about our new sticker release before they're made public. And be sure to follow us on TikTok at Unapologetically Outspoken. And if you haven't done so already, please rate and review the podcast. The more you support us, the more people we can reach. So help us spread the word.